Look, I am going to tell you the absolute truth today, and most of you are going to hate me for it because it ruins the fairy tale you have been told since you were a kid. Everyone asks me for the secret to getting rich, and when I give them the real answer, they look at me like I just told them the earth is flat. They want a magic button or a secret crypto coin that goes to the moon overnight, but that is not how the big money is actually made. I am only 25, but I spent more time with spreadsheets and dead billionaires' logic than most people spend breathing. 10 years ago, the gray-haired guys told you to buy a great company and hold it until you retire. I am telling you right now that advice is officially a financial death trap in 2026 if you do not understand the math behind it. I just ran across another $1 million article on the homepage of a major news site. It was titled "The Stark Reality of What a $1.5 Million Retirement Looks Like in 2026. I mean, with a title like that, I am clicking because I love watching people fail at basic arithmetic. Before even reading the article, I was looking at that title, thinking, a stark reality. There is no way this is going to hold up because fear sells better than truth. It falls right into that classic category of saying, hey, if you only have $1.5 million saved, it is probably not enough. The article says if you take a 4% withdrawal from a $1.5 million portfolio, that gives you $60,000 a year. That sounds conservative and so far so good, but then they hit you with the scary part. They claim that after federal taxes, you are only left with $46,800. The second I read that, I had to pause and walk through the room because my brain was screaming. We need to tackle the tax math first because this is the most glaring error in the entire universe of financial journalism. Yes, if you have $1.5 million sitting in a traditional account, any withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income. And yes, $60,000 could technically push you into the 22% bracket, but here is where the article falls apart and reveals that the author probably failed third-grade math. It assumes that you pay 22% on every single dollar of that $60,000. That is not how our tax system works at all. We have a progressive tax system, which means your first dollars are taxed at lower rates, only the tiny top portion reaches the higher brackets, and on top of that, we have deductions that we have to consider. At age 65 and older, there are now 3 layers of deductions as of 2026. First, we have the base standard deduction, which is $16,100 for singles. Then we have the age-based add-on, which is $2,050, and then we have the new OBA senior bonus deduction, which is $6,000 per person. If we add all of these together, a single person qualifies for $24,150. In total deductions for those who are married, it is $47,500. Let us actually run the real numbers instead of the fake ones designed to make you panic. For a single filer age 65 or older with an income of $60,000, they would end up with a net income after taxes of about $56,000. The article said they would only have $46,800. That is a $9,200 difference right off the bat, which is enough for a very nice vacation or a lot of tacos. This truly matters because there is a massive difference between what people are being told they will keep and what they actually keep. This is before we even talk about Social Security or actual tax planning right out of the gate. This article is wobbly like a chair with 2 legs missing. If your taxes are going up, it usually means your income is also going up, which is a high-class problem to have. Let us add in Social Security and look at a single household. Assume this person has $2,000 a month in benefits, which is $24,000 a year. They have their retirement withdrawal of $60,000. Now their total income is $84,000 pre-tax. Social Security is not taxed the same way as your side hustle or your day job. It is governed by provisional income, which determines how much of the benefit is actually subject to tax. Even with $84,000 of total income, the after-tax income would be closer to $77,000. Their effective tax rate is about 8.5%. The article wants you to think you are losing 25% to the government, but the math says it is less than 10. Now let us take this one step further for the couples out there. Assume both spouses claim Social Security and get $2,000 a month each. That is $48,000 a year plus their $60,000 withdrawal. Now we have a household income of $108,000 for this married couple. The total federal tax bill would be just under $6,000. That gives them an effective tax rate of about 5.4%. Let that sink in for a minute. This couple has over $100,000 in income and their tax bill is less than a cheap used car. This is the opposite of the stark reality the media is trying to shove down your throat. Most retirees do not just have one account. They have a little bit of Social Security, a little bit of a pension, maybe some part-time work, and hopefully a Roth account. Money sitting in a Roth account is like a superpower because none of those withdrawals are subject to taxes. The article also subtly shifts the narrative about withdrawal rates. They suggest you should consider part-time work to drive your withdrawal rate down to 3%. I love the idea of a phased retirement, and I love the idea of working if it brings you meaning. Every unnecessary expense is just you firing a worker who could be earning you money while you sleep, but forcing a 3% withdrawal rate is highly questionable and not supported by the data. There is no evidence saying that it is absolutely necessary to go that low for a 30-year retirement. Forward-looking research from Morningstar suggests a safe withdrawal rate is closer to 3.7 to 3.9%, and if you use historical data, you are closer to 4.5 or 4.7%. If you bump your withdrawal up to 5% on a $1.5 million portfolio, you are taking $75,000 a year. That is a $15,000 difference in annual income. Life is not a straight line, and your spending will not stay perfectly flat for 30 years. Data shows that most people actually reduce their spending as they get older because they stop traveling as much. Let us add some real pressure and test. If this 1.5 million portfolio actually works, let us say you retire early at age 55 with that 1.5 million. You have no income until Social Security starts at age 62. The portfolio has to cover 100% of your life for 7 years. How much can this person safely spend using a flexible spending strategy? A 1.5 million portfolio could support a 5% withdrawal rate. That gives an income of $75,000 a year. Once Social Security kicks in, the pressure on the portfolio drops significantly. The withdrawal rate would drop to the ballpark of 3.5%. Even in a stressful early retirement scenario, this portfolio can support a very comfortable life. The article is clumsy because it ignores the progressive tax system and it ignores Social Security. It ignores the fact that $1 million is still a massive amount of money. It frames 1.5 million as fragile and small because they want you to keep paying fees to money managers. They want you to stay in the rat race so they can collect their 1%. If you have $1.5 million in a traditional account, you are not in trouble. You are in a position of power. You could easily have a household living on $100,000 a year in income. I struggle with these articles because they keep pushing the idea that you can never have enough. It is fear-based framing, and we do not need more of that in the world. We need more conversations that are rooted in math and actual data. If you have a big traditional account, you should look at Roth conversions. As you get older, your portfolio will likely continue to grow. Once you hit the age for required minimum withdrawals, you lose control over the tax bill. Doing smart Roth conversions now can help you smooth out the taxes over your lifetime. That is not a problem. It is an opportunity you get to solve for. Every time you think about buying something you do not need, ask yourself if it is worth the labor. Wealth is not about the car you drive or the brand on your shirt. It is about the freedom to tell people to go away if you do not want to talk to them. The old playbook says work until you are 65 and then die. The new playbook says learn the math as fast as you can and get out of the race. Most people are so busy trying to look rich that they forget to actually be rich. Being rich is about the math of enough. The media wants to keep the goalposts moving so you never feel safe. But if you understand the tax codes for 2026, you can see through the lies. You do not need $10 million to have a great life. You need a solid plan and the patience to let your assets do the heavy lifting. The world is changing fast, but the logic of Charlie Munger remains the same. Invert the problem. Instead of asking, how can I get more, ask, how can I avoid being stupid? Believing a poorly written news article is a great way to be stupid. Take the data and run your own numbers. Stop listening to people who make money by keeping you anxious. Your 1.5 million is a fortress if you treat it with respect. Every dollar you save today is a soldier in your army for tomorrow. Be the general of your own life and stop taking orders from headlines. Stay boring with your investments, but stay wild with your life. The real stark reality is that most people will work forever because they never learned how to count. You are already ahead of the game just by being here and looking at the truth. The math does not lie, and it says you are going to be just fine. Keep your head down and keep your savings rate high. The noise will always be there, but the truth is quiet. Most of you spend 40 hours a week earning money, but not even 40 minutes a month managing it. That is the real reason people are stressed. If you spent just 10% of your work time studying these tax brackets, you would retire 5 years earlier. Stop being a victim of bad journalism. The article said you would have $46,800. I just showed you how that same $60,000 can be $56,000 or $59,000. That is an extra $10,000 every single year for the rest of your life. Over 30 years, that is $300,000 you just saved because you know how to read. The 4% rule is a guide, not a religion. If the market is down, you spend a little less. If the market is up, you spend a little more. It is called common sense, but Wall Street hates common sense because they cannot sell it to you. They want you to buy complex annuities and high-fee mutual funds. They want you to think 1.5 million is a tiny drop in the ocean, but for most of us, that is more money than our grandparents saw in their entire lives. The only person who cares more about your money than you do is someone trying to take it. Remember that every time you read a headline that makes your heart race, the goal of life is not to have the biggest pile of gold when you are buried. The goal is to have enough to never have to do anything you hate. And for many of you, that goal is much closer than you think. The article talks about a 30-year retirement that is 360 months of freedom. If you have $1.5 million, that is over $4,000 for every single one of those months. And that is before any growth and before any Social Security. If that is a stark reality, then I want to live in it every single day. The author of that article should be ashamed for spreading such misinformation. They are calculating taxes like it is the year 1920. We are in 2026 and the rules have changed in favor of the retirees. Use the OBA deductions and use the age-based add-ons. These are literal gifts from the tax code if you know where to look. Every time I see a young person like me worried about retirement, I tell them to stop. Just buy the index and wait. The power of waiting is the most underrated skill in the world. Munger said the big money is not in the buying or the selling, but in the waiting, and the big freedom is not in the working, but in the planning. I am going to go back to my hotel room and keep hunting for the next big move. Success is boring, and it is repetitive, and it is mostly just waiting for the right moment to strike. When the moment comes, you better be ready to move because the market does not wait for anyone. The big money is already moving, and I am just here to show you the trail of breadcrumbs. If you want to be a part of the next big rotation, then stop listening to your parents and start listening to the math. It is all just numbers and psychology in the end, and if you master both, you master the world. I wish you all the best, and I hope you make more money than you know what to do with. Just remember to be kind and stay humble when the millions start hitting your account. The road to wealth is paved with patience and lined with people who gave up too soon. Don T. Be one of the people who gave up because you were bored of waiting for the snap. The snap is coming, and it will be the most beautiful sound you have ever heard in your life. I am 25 years old, and I am already tired of the lies. Let us make 2026 the year we all stop being afraid of headlines. Let us make it the year we all learn to love the boring process of getting rich slowly. Every day you do not sell is a day you win. Every dollar you do not waste is a dollar that works for you. And every article you do not believe is a victory for your brain. The stark reality is that you are more capable than you think. And your money is worth more than they want you to believe. Go out there and live your life. Stop checking the price every 5 minutes. It will be there when you need it if you just leave it alone. The hardest part of investing is doing nothing, so learn to be the best at doing nothing. It is the highest paying job in the world. I am going to leave it there before I start repeating myself. You have the data and you have the logic. Now you just need the discipline to follow through. It is not easy, but it is very simple. Don T, let them move the goalposts on you. You are the one playing the game. So you decide when you have won. And for most of you reading this, you have already won more than you realize. Just look at the numbers. The math never lies. People lie and journalists lie and fear lies. But 1.5 million divided by a 4% withdrawal is 60,000. And 60,000 minus the new deductions is a lot more than 46,800. That is the only reality you need to know. Everything else is just noise. Stay boring, stay patient, peace. Now let us talk about the SP 500 being a tech trap. The SP 500 is no longer an index fund. It is a fund that is basically betting on big tech, specifically 10 companies which comprise 40% of the index. So if you think you are a stock picker, just keep in mind you are competing against an algorithm. The market composition has changed so fundamentally that the old emotional panic dynamics no longer apply. Algorithmic trading accounts for roughly 60 to 75% of total trading volume. Think about that for a second. 3/4 of trading is a computer in the equity market. If you think you are a stock picker, just keep in mind you are competing against an algorithm that looks at millions of points of data designed by PhDs. And you are watching news or deciding because you see a long line outside of Chipotle that you are informed. Index funds now account for 57% of equity funds by assets. Passive investors, by definition, do not panic. They just rebalance on a schedule. In 2024, assets under management of passive funds surpassed that of active funds for the first time. Algorithms do not really panic. They do not read a scary headline and sell everything. Studies suggest algorithms reduce volatility by dampening investor sentiment. But during severe stress, a firm decision to scale back can create a sudden liquidity gap. The October 2024 yen flash crash is a recent example. A 3% drop in 90 seconds triggered by algorithms hitting their own kill switches. Diversification is really powerful. I fell into the notion that I was in it to win it. I took every penny I had and kept reinvesting in my own company. Then when things went south in 2008, I woke up at 42 and had nothing. Actually, I had less than nothing. Diversification is really powerful. Take 30% of your portfolio and have some fun with it if you want, but put the majority into index funds. If you are going to do index funds, you want to be diversified across asset classes and regions. Emerging markets had underperformed the US for 15 years, and I thought we would see a reversion. You are up against PhDs and technology that your brain cannot beat. Stay boring, stay patient, peace. Introverts can win at work too. I am paid to be an extrovert, but I am actually an introvert. Being the quieter one who shows up prepared and writes really well has a certain power. Introverts are sometimes better at building relationships with people below them. Senior managers notice if you take the time to mentor younger people, be a player coach. Senior managers notice when you help to upskill the team. The meek will inherit the earth maybe, but a lot of introverts do really well by showing up with confidence and data. Get to a city when you are young. I lived in a 1-bedroom with 3 other people when I was young. You can dance between the raindrops when you are young. Cities become impossible when you get older and start collecting kids and dogs. But being in the city is incredibly productive for establishing credibility. Get to the city while you are young because it gets increasingly hard as you get older. Stay boring, stay patient, peace. Now let us close this out with one final thought. The game of money is 10% math and 90% staying calm. The world wants you to overcomplicate it so you feel like you need an expert. You are the expert of your own life. Trust the simple numbers, distrust the complex stories. It is your time and your life. Don't spend it all on things that do not bring you closer to freedom. Every dollar is a brick in the wall of your fortress. Make sure your wall is high and strong. See you in the next one. Stay boring, stay patient, peace.